Welcome to Philly Tech Connect podcast, where Philly's tech minds meet. CEOs, developers, dreamers. This is your space. Each week, we explore the journeys of tech innovators. Join us and be inspired.
Hey everyone, Dave here with another episode of the Philly Tech Connect podcast. Today I'm speaking with David Mumladze, the CEO and founder of Cartuul, a leading used car reconditioning software. David has over 15 years in the car business. He's a partner at a car dealership, and he has a strong background in fixed operations. And at Cartuul, they help dealerships streamline the reconditioning process to boost efficiency and profitability. David, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing well, man. I appreciate you hopping on the call. I love new products, new industries that I haven't talked about before, and this is one of them. Tell me a little bit about your background and how we ended up here today.
All right, cool. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on the podcast. So my background, originally I come from the country, Georgia. In the early 2000s, we ended up moving here to the States. And then still in the mid 2000s, we ended up moving to Philadelphia. A little bit later, around 2008, 2009, we had a family dealership that opened up, and I was kind of leading the charge as far as reconditioning the cars go. And that's really where my background in reconditioning comes from. Fast forward about a decade, I graduated from Penn State. I went back to the dealership and still leading the reconditioning. And I just, there was a lot of areas of improvement. And, there's a lot of new software that comes out with, in the industry of car dealerships. However, there was some reconditioning softwares out there, tried a couple, just none that really helped actually streamline the process. So, in the early 2020, I started, making Cartuul. I hired a developer. Wait, hold on.
Oh, good. Yeah, we have editing, so we'll do a little editing. Move on this one.
Sorry about that. Just keep it afterwards. Where do I pick that
So
up?
you mentioned you hired a developer to build Cartuul, I think.
Yeah. So early 2020, I had the idea to create something called Cartuul, something that would truly help dealerships streamline their process and ultimately leading to a better customer experience. Hired the developer overseas, started working on it. About 2.5 years later, we had a beta version that we were comfortable with offering to small number of dealerships. So we rolled that out. We got a couple dealerships on board, one of them being the dealership that I'm a partner at now.
Nice. All right. Well, let me stop there for a second because there's a few things I want to dive into. So just tell me a little bit about your family starting a car dealership. Is that, like how does that happen? And is this a Georgian thing that that we know about cars and we do dealerships? So I'm just kind of curious.
It was so my brother-in-law started the car dealership at the time. It is kind of a Georgian thing where we do know a lot about cars and we're kind of like hands-on type of people, blue collar working. So cars is one of the many areas that we know. So just started out small with the family dealership, selling 10, 15 cars a month. And eventually over time, it grew larger and larger and larger. Over time, I stepped away from that dealership due to personal reasons. And now here we are.
Nice. So, tell me a little bit about the business model of a car dealership. On the one hand, I guess it seems maybe straightforward, but I'm sure I just want to, I feel like I always miss things. So, is it someone comes to you and they have a car that they've used and maybe they're looking to upgrade to another one. So they sell their old car and you buy it and then essentially you do work on it and then you try to sell it for more. You also mentioned like buying cars at an auction, when we were talking earlier. So like what is these auctions and what cars are being auctioned and why?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of auctions every day that are running in the States. Main source of acquiring cars for a car dealership is at an auction. A lot of dealerships do try to buy off market with on the market with private sellers that are trying to sell their cars privately. Some customers come into the dealership, they have a trade-in, they'll buy a new one, trade in their old car, so they'll upgrade. But majority of the inventory comes from auctions. And you've probably heard of some of the bigger ones like Manheim and America's Auto Auctions and so on. There's a lot of also newer ones like online auctions like ACV, Open Lane. So there's multiple avenues of acquiring inventory for a car dealership.
Got it. And what would be the source of like these cars at an auction? Is it somebody had their car like taken away from them, or I'm just like somebody went to prison, now there's a car. Like how do these things work?
Absolutely. So, well, yeah, some of them are owned by banks. So if someone finances a car, stops making payments, the bank repossesses the car, sends it to the auction. Some of them are come from new car dealerships. So person buys a brand new car, 3 or 4 years later, they go in, upgrade, buy another brand new car, they trade in their old one. If the new car dealership doesn't necessarily want to retail that vehicle, they'll send it to the auction. So there's yeah, I mean, those cars come from everywhere, really. So there's even salvage auctions. If cars get crashed, you could buy crashed vehicles and fix them up. But there's niches of car dealerships, I want to say. Some focus on, great newer cars with lower miles. Some dealerships do just reconstructed title vehicles that have been crashed. Some do, cheaper vehicles, and everyone has their own niche in a way.
Got it. So the reconditioning, this is basically like, you bought this car maybe from an auction and some work needs to be done on it before it's ready to be kind of sold to a new person. I mean, what are the types of things? Is it like a paint job, replacing the window, what tires need to be changed? Like, what are the types of things that are typically done in the reconditioning phase?
Yeah, there's plenty of things. A car could come in from the auction. It could need a large amount of items that need to be addressed, or sometimes they just come in, they just need to be cleaned and put up for sale, just kind of mechanically checked out. But those things that it could need could be anywhere from even starting at engines and transmissions to painting the front bumper, replacing a headlight, changing the windshield, putting some tires on it, maybe some suspension components. Sometimes the visors are missing, so you have to order visors or whatever it may be. There's so many different components to a vehicle that any one of those could be faulty that need to be addressed before you sell it to a retail customer.
When you get it from the auction, I mean, what level of inspection has been done? Do you ever, buy a car and then you go, whoa, like all this engine's broken or something? I mean, it's probably something like that, but like something where you're like, well, I didn't know it was going to be this much work or need this much repair.
Yeah, I mean, it can be, depends how you're buying. So if you're going to the auctions, if you're looking at the cars in person, you kind of have a good idea. If you're buying online, they also do condition reports. Sometimes they can be skewed depending on who the seller is. But then you also have an arbitration process. So if a car comes in that has an issue that wasn't announced, for example, let's say it has a transmission issue and it wasn't announced, you didn't know it had a transmission issue, and you purchase that vehicle, you can arbitrate that vehicle, potentially either recouping some money or just getting out of the car and sending it back to the auction. But you can also, it depends how you buy the car. You can buy it at the auction, green light, which gives you the ability to arbitrate that vehicle, or red light, which is as is.
Gotcha. Interesting. Okay. So the reconditioning software, I mean, you mentioned that there were a couple of these out there that you tried using. What was it about them that made you feel they were inadequate?
Just the level of detail and the involvement from the staff. It's something that everyone kind of needs to be a part of. Those cars touch so many different hands through that reconditioning process. And if the system's not user friendly, if it's not easy to use, easy to understand, and easy to learn, you can't guarantee that the employees at the dealership are going to actually use it. And then also the level of detail that you can get into. So some of the systems out there, you just can't really pinpoint certain things. You can't set up, like we at Cartuul, we focus on automation to kind of cut out some of that downtime that can happen. Whereas the other systems, you just don't get that level of automation and notifications to the right people at the right time.
Got it. So when was the point where you said, "Okay, I'm going to go hire someone and build my own thing"? Because I mentioned you went to Penn State. I don't know what you majored in, but was this like a long-term goal to start a software business, or was it something you kind of fell into?
Not at all. I mean, I graduated with a degree in business administration focused on marketing and management. So this doesn't really have much to do with what I majored in. But the point where I decided that it was probably time to go ahead and make something was when I noticed I had a stack of papers on my desk. I had already tried a couple different softwares that none really, a lot of dealerships out there are still using Excel spreadsheets and whiteboards. And you can already, understand how inefficient that can be. And then, I had a stack of papers on my desk. It was early COVID days, and it was just there has to be a better way to do this. And that was the thought that I had in my mind that kind of started the whole process. So I did a little research, digging, this, that. I didn't expect it to take me this long, but software, we're still improving it every single day. So even after actually going on 5 years now, it's still not fully done. It's very much usable, but I don't imagine us ever stopping improving the system, maybe even 10 years down the line.
Yeah, it's never done, right? Yeah, that's kind of the blessing and the curse of a software business. You mentioned you outsourced development. Did you go to Georgia or somewhere related?
No, no, it was we have a couple developers in Europe, and then now we have a person here that's the main point of contact with the development team. So we're growing. We have, I believe, about a dozen employees now. So we're growing. We're the development team is still overseas, but um, we're making our footprint here as well.
Nice. So when you say we, do you mean Cartool or the dealership?
Cartuul.
Cartool. Cool. And so yeah, I mean, I guess how's the process been of trying to approach other dealerships with this software? Did you find that they understood kind of very easily and quickly kind of the problem that you were trying to solve, or were they very much like stuck in their old ways of Excel spreadsheets and whiteboards and kind of saying, "Thanks, but I don't really need this. We're already good with our process."
It's funny you said stuck in the old ways. It's a phrase that someone else has said to me prior, and it sticks out to me when someone says that. Uh, so originally, we wanted to really our target customer was the independent dealerships, right? Not the Ford stores or the Toyota stores. It was the mom and pop shops, independent dealerships. When we started approaching dealerships, yeah, some of them, a small amount, understood the necessity of something like this. While very large portion of those people it was stuck in their old ways, just like you said. I don't need it. I have my spreadsheet. It's all color coded. So very quickly, we found that the franchise dealerships were much more aware of the problems in reconditioning. So they were very open to hearing us out. But I think over the past couple of years, I've noticed, we started attending trade shows like NADA, NIADA, Digital Dealer, and so on. It is definitely becoming a more known issue in the industry where independent dealerships are also starting to realize that every day, every minute, every hour of the day costs them money. So the faster you get these cars reconditioned and ready for the customer, the more money that's going back into their pocket. And you're also providing a better customer experience. So things don't necessarily fall through the cracks. I can't tell you how many times at one of the dealerships I worked with, we would lose a sale just because it had a small ding on the door that someone forgot to get the dent guy on, or the sunroof didn't operate. We knew that at the beginning, but it never got addressed. So things tend to fall through the cracks when you're using color-coded Excel spreadsheets.
Yeah, it makes sense. And that's huge, right? It probably, one of those could be worth the price of the software in and of itself, that lost sale. So nice, man. That's a cool story. For people that want to learn more about you, what you're up to, maybe get in touch, where should they go?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. You can go to our website, cartuul.com, reach out to us through there. Or just, I'm sitting here at the dealership in Bristol, Easy Auto, Bristol location. So if you want to just stop by, or if you're looking for a car, feel free.
Yeah. Sounds good, man. I appreciate your time today.
Awesome. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate you bringing me on.
That's all for today's episode of Philly Tech Connect. Join our community at phillytechentrepreneurs.com. Special thanks to our sponsor, shortlist.io, a digital marketing agency specializing in top-notch link building, content strategy, and web design. Stay innovative, Philly, and see you next time on Philly Tech Connect.